I started this YouTube channel 4 years ago when I was 42 years old in June 2021. Now, I want to talk to you about what led me to this moment when I started taking YouTube a lot more seriously. But I also want you to understand that that was not my intention at the start. And I want to explain what led me there, how things have gone on, and how you could make that leap as well if you want to start your own YouTube channel. And if you haven't done it, but it's been at the back of your mind, what are you waiting for? Give it a go. So let me just talk about where I started off and what led me to this moment. And by the way, I want to make clear that when I did start the YouTube videos, I wasn't doing very well on the cover art. I hadn't invested much in lighting or cameras or microphones. I just wanted to make a difference. And most of all, I was not trying to be a YouTube algorithm. You're going to see lots of videos out there telling you what you need to do to make it to go viral. They can work for you, but a lot of it comes down to what you put into it, your personality, how you come across, how you engage with your community, and what intelligence, knowledge, advice, experience that you can share. By the way, I'm Imran from Web Squadron. Like, subscribe, share, and follow. My details are below. So let me talk to you about what led me to this moment. For about 20 years of my life, I worked in the UK health industry, the NHS. I started off as an analyst and worked my way up until I was head of business intelligence and head of business analytics. I worked in Leicestershire, Lincolnshire, and bits of London, Kent, and Medway as well. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved working with hospitals, doctors, nurses, clinicians, other analyst staff, and I loved training people up, especially on SQL. And what became very prominent about me and how people came to know me, including GPs, was that I like to train, I like to teach, I like to share knowledge. I didn't like to just hand over a document and go, here you go, here's your latest analytical report about patient activity or what you're prescribing or what's happening in the waiting list. You go and work it out. All of the numbers and charts are there. That's up to you now. I would take the time to explain, whether it was on a phone call, an email, a webinar, workshop, or I would even go and do a presentation. Once did a presentation to over 300 GPs down in London. Was nervous at the start, but boy, did I love it because people valued what I did. Now, when I started working with web design and WordPress, I found that I was kind of finding my feet. And that's because WordPress went through quite a bit of evolution during 20 years. By the way, if you're not into WordPress or websites or anything like that, don't worry, this video is going to lead very quickly onto the YouTube side of things, which you will find more relevant. But when I started working with page builders, I started realizing that there were people out there that needed a little bit of help or support on understanding how to build a website, user experience, user interfaces, what plugins to use, how to handle problems. And I started jumping into lots of forums. Now, this is all while I was still working full-time in the NHS. And I was doing, on average, 70 to 80 hours a week. I am not lying, okay? I did not get paid overtime. I was head of department. I pulled my weight. I had to manage staff, look after staff, be there for them 24/7 whenever there was a problem. And I put my heart into the NHS for my team and my department. But as a side hustle, I was also designing websites and kind of helping people onto the social media platforms out there as well. I probably didn't explain that very well, but basically I was working on websites. Now, when COVID hit 2020, it really started to make me realize in that even though I enjoy what I'm doing, was I really enjoying what I was doing? Because as a child, I wanted to be a graphic designer. I wanted to be a comic book illustrator. I wanted to go into acting and drama. And fortunately, my parents pushed me into chemistry, mathematics, and biology. I also did an A-level in psychology. I went and started off a university degree in orthoptics, not biomedical, medical degree to do with the eyes. It's not ophthalmology. I left after 2 years because I actually had a benign brain tumor. So I had an operation in April 1999. I've got a big, massive scar on this side of my head. You can't really see it because I kind of grow my hair out and I comb my hair that way as well. I got a big scar, benign brain tumor, about the size roughly of an eyeball was taken out. I can't move my left eye fully to the left. I have paralysis. I have paralysis on the side of my face as well. which is why some people have spotted or noted that I kind of turn my face this way when I'm looking at people, which can annoy some people. And also, when I talk, you may notice that this part of my mouth doesn't move as much as my right side. And that's because I do have paralysis on this side of my face, which can be quite dangerous if you ever try to do a clean shave. I then left university, came back to Leicester, started working in Leicester City Council, and then that led on to a job in the NHS where I kind of remained for a good old 20 years. But I really loved making a difference, working with people, helping them to achieve things, to find success, to kind of get over problems. I was so well known for being a problem solver. They used to call me the enigmatic maverick because unless I was defeated in solving something, I did not like to say the word defeat. I wanted to see things through. And even then, when I was working in the NHS, I still went to university in the evenings and did a part time law degree. It took 4 years, got my law degree. To be honest, I haven't really used a law degree except it helped me to become so much more analytical. I deal with facts, not assumptions, not fakery, fake news, and all of that. I like to deal with facts, which is why often you will find that I do start to cross examine problems or if anyone makes an accusation or says something. Anyway, let's fast forward, okay? Because I said we'd get onto the YouTube side of things. So when we got to 2020, even though I knew I was making a difference in the NHS, even though I knew I was working hard and people valued me, my team valued me, I had lots of friends, I enjoyed life and all of that, you know, my wife, my cat, my adopted son, I enjoyed so many things. There was always something eating away at me, even during those 20 years, even during when I was studying for orthoptics, it kept chipping away at me. And it was that I wanted to be in the creative industry. I wanted to do creative things. And that's what I felt acting, drama, graphic design, comic book illustrator was. Now, I fed some of that by doing web design as a side hustle, and that was going relatively quite well. But I wasn't fully committed into it. I was doing it as and when I needed to. And then during 2020, I realized that I've actually got a bit more time on my hands now because work, believe it or not, did slow down a bit because the focus was more on COVID. There weren't many people going in for operations, etc. There was a shift in what we need to focus on and what we need to analyze and what we need to manage. And I wasn't having to manage a lot of staff either because so many of them were working from home. It was just like touch base when you needed to. For any of you that worked in the corporate world, you probably appreciate what I'm talking about. And during that moment, that's when I upped how much I was putting into web design. Remember, I wasn't traveling either. There were times when I was having to travel to Dover for a 1 hour meeting. Let me put that into context for you. 3.5 hours to get to Dover for a 1 hour meeting, and then 3.5 to 4 hours to get back home. That was my day gone. Just sat on a train, kind of trying to work on a train, which can be sometimes difficult. But that's what my life was. And sometimes going to meetings, an hour and a half drive, do some work, an hour and a half drive back. I was leaving home at sometimes 6:30 in the morning and getting home at 7:30 at night. I was working hard and traveling. So I had a lot of this free time available to me. So I then put that into doing more web design, upping my skills, getting more involved with WordPress and Elementor and page builders. And that's when I started diving more into like Facebook forums for Elementor, for WordPress, for plugins. And I found that I was helping out quite a bit. For those of you that knew me or heard of me back in 2020 and early 2021, you may have noticed that I was supporting queries and problems as much as I could. I have free advice. But there was always a little bit of a problem. How many times do you give away the same solution repeatedly and all you're doing is rewriting what you wrote yesterday, last week? You might say, well, why don't you just copy and paste it? It's not always that easy because you try and tailor the answer to the query or the question being asked. And I found I was doing that a lot. And sometimes it was really difficult to explain how to solve a problem. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Because you're just writing words and sometimes the person on the other end might not fully grasp it. Look, if someone tells you how to connect up your machines, they could give you a written guide. It's a bit like an IKEA guide, right? You look at it and you go, yeah, okay, yeah, I kind of get it. if there was a video that went through step by step how to solve the problem or how to get over, the blip or the glitch, wouldn't you rather watch the video? I mean, come on. Anyone here who's got a boiler or whatever in their house, right? If the water like runs dry and the pressure drops, do you know where to go to sort that out? But if you watch a video on YouTube where someone goes, right, for this particular boiler, you pull this down, you turn this, you listen to the water trickling in, and when it gets to say 1 or 2 on the pressure bar, you turn it off, job done. Don't you feel like you've achieved something? And that's what I felt with YouTube. I then started doing videos. Basically, the Web Squadron YouTube channel was born. And if you go back to my earliest videos, the camera quality was using a shitty old rubbish webcam. I started off with the webcam on my MacBook, which is over there. It's the MacBook M1. I started with that. God, that was atrocious. Went and got like a 1080p camera. That was atrocious. Went and got a 4K, but that was never really 4K, and even that wasn't great. I was using my microphone in my MacBook. I was literally using that because it picked it up. But if you go and listen to my oldest videos, you're going to hear a lot of bit of distortion, reverb, echo, and stuff like that. Hey everyone, it's Imran. How you doing? So I started investing in technology, but what I found very early on, even after the first 10-ish videos, I was answering queries. And when people started liking those videos, and when I say liking, I don't mean the like on YouTube. I mean they were responding in the forums to say, thank you so much. Wow, that really helped. Oh my God, Imran, I didn't expect you to come back with a dedicated video to answer my question. It filled me with hope. It inspired me to say, I think I could do more of this. And that's when I started investing more of my time. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of the equipment or the potential $4,000 to $5,000 I've spent over the last 4 years testing things out. By the way, I do like to return things back to Amazon if I realize they are not as good as what I expected. Better quality monitors, resolutions, lights, diffuser panels, even upgraded my camera about 10 days ago. Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. I love it. But for about 3.5 years of my videos, and if you go watch the videos, the quality was pretty damn good. I was actually using my iPhone. That's not even my iPhone. There's the iPhone. I took it out. I was using my iPhone. In fact, it's not this iPhone because this is the 15 Pro. I was using my wife's old iPhone 13 mini. No, let me rewind. I lie. For the first 2 years of my YouTube life, I was using my iPhone XR. So I was connecting that up and using an app called Reincubate Camo, which at the time was £59 lifetime. I think you got to pay monthly now, but you might need to check that out, or it might be a lower charge. I was using that. The trouble with that, though, was it was my phone. So I'd sometimes have my camera on, but it meant I did not have access to my phone. And when you're like working with clients or web design agency or people or even work, it meant that I was not accessing my phone, and that can be a problem. And then after 2 years, I used my wife's old iPhone 12 mini, sorry. It was the iPhone 12. And I used that. So I had 2 phones, but I had a permanent camera now. And then 10 days ago or 12 days ago, I upgraded to the Sony ZV-E10 because I realized that even with the Reincubate Camo and the iPhone, even though it is 4K streaming to my Mac Mini, don't use the continuity camera that Apple say you can use. It's not that good quality, trust me. Even though I was using the Camo app to get 4K, it was never properly 4K. And I would like to think that when you watch some of the videos I do now with the ZV, you're going to notice a big jump or leap in the quality. But over time, I invested more in microphones and stuff like that. I've kind of deviated because I've started talking about equipment, and I want to save that for a separate video. But what I found was during the YouTube journey, I was getting involved into more difficult problems and scenarios where the challenge was there, the appetite was there for me to make a difference, to solve problems. And that's why I continued. And it got to a point where I found I was really flexing it and juggling between work and YouTube and the web design agency. And when we got to during 2021 and it became apparent that we may need to start going back into the office a lot more, I had to make a decision. 20 years of NHS, I was earning really, really well in the NHS. Okay. When you're head of a department, you're doing pretty damn well. And my finances were looking really good. And I basically bit the bullet. I handed in my notice, served out my notice, and in January 2022, I retired from the NHS. That doesn't mean I get retirement because you don't get your retirements, kind of like pensions and all of that crap, until you're much older. But I retired out, and it was a very difficult like thing for me for the first couple of months because my income literally went like nosedive down, not snowballed, nosedive down. And I did wonder, have I made the right choice here? Am I going to regret this? Luckily, things picked up. And like within a year, I was back earning what I was earning in the NHS. The big difference, though, was that the web squadron or the web agency was going really well with clients and working with people, meeting people, getting websites built. But most of all, the amount of videos I was now able to record and get involved in and work on, longer videos, richer videos, more advice, more knowledge sharing experience that I could put out, I was able to do so much more. Before, I was a bit like, right, I've got an hour spare, I've got my son, I've got to go eat dinner, I've got to edit the video. It's not just about recording. When you're doing a talking video like what I'm doing now, there'll be very little edits. There may be the odd moment where I paused just to make sure I'm in the right frame of mind or I'm explaining things properly, or maybe I need to say something again and I'll do a quick edit. They're really quick to edit. But when you're doing a video where you're explaining a process like how to build a website, how to build a feature, how to get this form to do XYZ, how to convert an image and then blah, 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 and back and forth and all of that, there's a heck of a lot of editing. You record it, then you have to switch your screen or show something else, and then you're switching. There's a lot to edit, and you may spend an hour recording. You may then spend 2 hours editing, and at the end of it, the video may end up being 15 or 20 minutes long. And then you got to do the cover art. Then you got to upload. So the amount of time that can go, and that is why when I made that decision to leave the NHS in January 2022, I am so happy. I am so overjoyed. I can tell you now, the flexibility and freedom I have is amazing. Now, I said at the start, or maybe I didn't. If I did, I did. If I didn't, I didn't. But I did not start off the YouTube channel to beat the YouTube algorithm. I wasn't trying to go massively viral. It's nice to be known. It's nice to be found. It's nice that people come and watch and they return and you have subscribers. But most of all, I wanted to know I was making a difference. And the satisfaction you get when someone puts a comment or contacts you directly to say how they're learning, how they've improved as a web designer, as a person, how some of the life skills or things I've shared, some of the struggles or pains, it's really made a difference for them. So at the age of 42, I literally had my midlife crisis and I'm now in a much happier place. I cannot tell you how happy I am. And my wife even said to me the other day, and I think that's what's kickstarted me into doing this video. She literally said, I'm so proud of you in that you work hard, you do get stressed out. Sometimes you just want to be left alone to do your own thing. But the majority of the time, you're happier than you've ever been because you're in your element. I'm creating. And there's going to be people out there like you who maybe you've lost your job, but you've got experience in something. Or maybe you are working in a job and it's going really well, but you have that itch, that urge to share. You could share what you currently do in your day job. Maybe you are an analyst and you work with SQL and data mining databases. Why don't you start a channel where you share how to data mine? You don't have to share business, secrecy or anything like that, but you could share, how do you create a database? Maybe you manage servers. How do you do that? Maybe you're an expert in SSDs and all of that. Maybe you would not use an SSD. and you would use other hard drives, or you're able to connect worldwide servers, why don't you go and do a video on that? Maybe you're someone who loves to talk about positivity. And I don't just mean regurgitating what you got off ChatGPT or what someone else said, but you have your own unique messaging. Don't just quote or requote a quote that someone else quoted. You've got something to give. If you can do that and you can bring life into it, start your channel, because I believe that you don't have to nicheify. I don't think you do. I think you can, start off in an area, see how it goes. And if it feels like it's working and people are commenting or people are coming back and watching and you're getting the odd sub, stick at it, let it grow, develop it. But if you want to like touch on different areas, and there are people out there that do that, do that. Now, I will say, don't worry about over investing in an amazing camera and an amazing microphone and lighting and studio and whatever. Just start off somewhere. One thing I would say though is try to make sure you've got a decent microphone. People are a little bit forgiving over video quality until they start watching on a big TV, but sound audio is massive. Because when you watch a video on like your smartphone, if you're watching in 360p, 480p, you can get away with it. Okay, it's not so bad. But when you start watching on a computer screen, you want to make sure 720, 1080 looks good. Bigger screens, you definitely want to be going for 4K. But don't overinvest. Don't start watching videos and buying loads of like special lights and special equipment. Start off small. And if you enjoy it, you love it, your passion is there to give a little back to the people. And I really want to stress on that, okay? So many people have life stories, okay? And that's why I'm doing more talking videos, because I feel like if all you ever do is just show someone how to do X, Y, Z, eventually someone else will show them how to do X, Y, Z in a better way. And then you can potentially lose your audience. But when you start to share and put out there the struggles you had with life, relationships, your children, your family, your pets, your work, how did you overcome a problem? Maybe you've had zero problem, life is good, and now all of a sudden something has hit you hard. I don't mean hit you hard, as in like could be maybe your job's not going so well, maybe your relationship's broken down, maybe your equipment has suddenly exploded and burnt down. I've got a problem with one electrical plug down there, and it's been bugging me for about 5 years. We've lived in this house now, coming up to 13 years. For about 5, 6 years ish, one plug point has always bugged me a little bit in how it sometimes, now and again, when I turn it off, it trips the switchboard, right? The RCD and all of that. And last night, when I was trying to turn it off, the switch kept clicking back on. And I went off, click back on. And I'm like, great, that's the plug point that literally, and you're going to shout at me now, powers everything that we see here, screens, lights, everything. Everything. I need to sort that damn plug out. So I'm going to have to invest in getting an electrician. But like I said, there could be electricians out there, right? They have so much knowledge and advice. Go and start your channel. But don't worry when you start off. And I'm now talking to the people, okay? No, let me just go back a step. I don't care how old you are. Of course, if you're younger, you may need to get your parental permission. And I believe YouTube aren't going to allow people under 16 to go live without a parent or a person adult being present. And when they're present, they actually need to be part of the live chat. They can't just be sat there in the background. They've got to be part of it. But, 16 and above, you got knowledge, you got experience. Could be gaming, could be Minecraft, could be how to make the most perfect Pepsi Max soda stream with sparkling mineral water. This allegedly has vitamins in. I don't care, as long as it tastes like Pepsi Max, stuff like that. But if you've got some experience, okay, don't care how old you are. I started this YouTube channel when I was 42. I'm going to be 47 years old in in 2 months' time. I'll be 47. In 3 and a bit years' time, I'll be 50. The grey hairs are now starting to come through quite a bit, actually, down this side. I've got that whole Reed Richards Fantastic Four kind of look going on at the moment, or even Doctor Strange. It's all coming through. but you don't have to wait. I wish I had started this YouTube channel properly back in 2010. So I heard about Twitter. I signed up in 2009. I sent my first tweet, which was hello, and never used it again until 2011. I wish I started Twitter earlier as well. YouTube channel, signed up in 2010, but I never used it. It just lay there. I did the odd video, which was about creative writing and how to do your synopsis and all of that. But oh my God, we're talking about my old iMac, 2000, I bought it in 2009. When you used, I think it was the face booth, and then you used the inbuilt camera and the quality was appalling. And because the quality was so bad and I had no proper lighting to light me up, fill light and key light and all of that, I went and used the face booth. There was a sketch effect. So my first couple of videos were literally black and white sketch effect. I mean, God, were they appalling. And they were still on my channel. But when I then started this in June 2021, relaunched it as Web Squadron, changed the name, I deleted those videos off because they were tragic. But I wish I'd started earlier. And if I had started earlier, who knows how big this channel could have been. But like I said, it's not always about how big you are, right? How many views do you get? How many subscribers do you get? How much income are you making? The monetization of YouTube is so varied. You're going to see people who say, I'm making $10,000 a month. I'm making $1,000 a day or whatever. It's not all true. Number one, you get taxed on it, okay? But number two, it doesn't always work like that. It varies, okay? You could do a video today and get 1,000 views today. Well, hey, brilliant. And you might get 20, 30 subscribers out of it. The next day, you might release another video and you might only get 50 views. And in fact, your subscribers has now dropped. Some people have left. It happens. I can release a video and I might get 1 or 2,000 in the first 2 or 3 days. I could release another video and after 2 weeks, it's barely hit 500. When I do live chats, I might get 200-300 people joining in. And then I might do another live chat and I only get 30 people joining. It happens. Things vary. So don't believe all of the hype about going viral and all of that, okay? It doesn't always work. Now, of course, as you learn and develop in YouTube, you're going to probably want to spend more time on your titles having a bit of a hook. Maybe a bit of drama, dramatic, conflict, worry, fear. There's so much, go and use ChatGPT to help you out. You'll do a bit of that. You might up the game on your thumbnail art. I use Canva. There's so many free tools and stuff you can use. Quality of your camera, your microphone, your layout. As you grow, as you get more into it, okay? And I would say that if you're on your own, you live on your own, you can probably get started without worrying. But when you have a wife and a family, basically my son, Raheem, his adopted son, he has problems. He has issues as well. Sometimes he doesn't always listen to me and he just bursts into the room, even though I've told him, do not disturb me, just comes running in. I have to either edit it out or leave it in. I got my cats as well. There's been times when they jump on the desk, and there was a time, okay, I was recording and they jumped on the desk and they pushed I've got a Mac Mini M2 Pro. I'm not even sure how they did it, but somehow I think they caught their foot near a wire. And as they jumped off, they took the Mac Mini with them and it went off the edge of the table down to the floor. And if it wasn't for the fact of the wires that just literally just stopped it crashing on the ground, it was like that far off the ground. Boy, did my heart go. They've knocked over my camera. They've knocked over lights. I mean, it's happened when I'm recording and I'm not usually happy when that happens, but it does happen. But don't care what age you are. Don't really care about your equipment massively, but make sure you get a decent microphone and you can pick up a pretty decent microphone for 40, 50 quid. This microphone is a Fifine dynamic microphone. This is £65, okay? This connects into my Mac Mini via the USB 2. It's got an XLR point at the back as well for audio interfacing, but I don't need to worry about that. I have not done any fancy magic on this at all. Now, you may say the audio is not that great or whatever, but I quite like it. It's a dynamic microphone. it does pick this up. So if I move over here and I start talking down here, you can still see me, but the sound quality must be affected, right? Maybe not, because when I edit, I normally normalize the sound, but I hope you still detect that I was off there. Why have I got a dynamic microphone? Because if I had a condenser microphone, and that's what a lot of people tend to recommend, and you will find shotgun microphones can be condenser. If your room is not properly soundproofed and there's no chance of a child running in or a child and my wife and maybe someone else arguing down there, it's time to eat. No, I don't want to eat now. Raheem, why have you not had a shower? Raheem, why have you pissed outside the toilet? I'm joking there, but you know, right? If there's a commotion going on there or something, dynamic microphone won't pick it up. The condenser microphone would have picked it up. And over down here, which you can't see, I've got two French doors. They're open because my cats like to go in and out. I can hear a lot of birds. They're tweeting away, and I can hear the cats sometimes running around and having play fights with each other. But the microphone won't pick it up. So I've deviated again about the equipment, and I shouldn't do that. But if you've got a burning passion to start a channel about something, do it. Ah, yes, something I forgot. You can tell none of this video is scripted or rehearsed. Now, when you start your channel, it can feel like slow going because you'll be waiting for the views and the subscribers and all of that. And remember, you're not going to really make any income on it until you hit 1,000 subs anyway, or someone sees potential and starts to sponsor you or collaborate with you for a video. But when you start off, things can be slow, okay? But what you don't want to do, and I really, really mean this because I did not do this, okay? Don't go reaching out to other forums or websites or other YouTubers and say, hey, can you help advertise my video for me? Because you know what? That feels desperate. And I know some people do sometimes ask people, and they've asked me as well. And I, 99% of the time, will just give a flat no. I don't like it if people say, can I stick my video on your Facebook group or whatever? And the reason I don't like that is because I did not do that. And I believe that when you start to use other people's platforms to advertise your YouTube channel or your business, it feels like you needed a helping hand to get there. My recommendation is you just pop stuff out and people will find you organically. And people that find you organically are more likely to stick around. If someone does a video and it's been put somewhere and you kind of know them or someone's promoted them, you might go along and watch it. You might like it. You might subscribe, but I'm pretty sure you won't stick around because eventually you're going to realize that the only reason I watched it or subscribed to it was because it was like a recommendation. But now I've realized I don't actually vibe with them. So I say it's far better to do it organically. So start off, okay? What did help me out, I'm not going to lie, because someone is probably going to comment on this, is that for almost a good year, in fact, it was 12 to 13 months, I was very visible on the Elemental forums, the WordPress forums, in Facebook, online, other places, commenting, giving advice, giving recommendations, answering questions. So when I did jump onto doing YouTube videos, sometimes someone would ask a question in, say, the Elemental Facebook group. And rather than me just giving them a written reply, I would go and solve their problem with a video, upload it onto YouTube, and then I would reply with a link to the video. So I'm saying, look, here you go. This is what you need to do, but I've also done a video for you to explain. That did help attract attention and it did bring people to the channel. And even though I've said don't use other people's platforms, I see that as a very different way of advertising yourself. There's one, look, there's one thing about just saying, hey, I just created a video. I want to stick it on your channel or your forum. And there's another thing with someone has asked a specific question and I've answered that with a video. Can you see how that can come across? Because when you just advertise your video on someone else's forum, well, it just feels like you were just using them as an outlet. It's no different to sticking the video on Twitter and LinkedIn and Insta or TikTok and other places. But when you answer a question, now people know, well, not only does the person who asked the question, they're probably going to watch it because they want to know the answer, but anyone else that reads it, that struggled to answer it, and they're going, yeah, I've got a similar problem. I'd love to know what the answer is to that. They're likely to watch it as well. So think about how you get your messaging out there. But when you start off, okay, God, I keep jumping around, don't I, with what I'm talking about. Things can be slow, right? And it will build up over time. But what you've got to do is be consistent. You've got to keep putting stuff out there. Now, I'm not telling you to put out a video a day. I'm not even telling you to do 2 or 3 videos a week. You could do 1 video a week. But what you have to be is visible. And this is the same advice I give to clients who we've built websites for, people that are using social media, businesses out there, basically anyone, okay? You need to be visible. So if you decide to post every day on Twitter or Insta or LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube or wherever you like to put your stuff out there, you need to be doing it if you can daily. Now, with videos, I don't always recommend doing that because you can saturate and people can get a bit frustrated or bored with you. But it all depends on what you're showing them, of course, as well. By the way, if you're showing them beauty treatment, people often like to see stuff like that on a daily basis. But by being consistently out there, by being visible, and that again is the secret with how people usually can get clients or collaborations on places like Twitter and LinkedIn as well. When you comment on other people's posts, I don't mean sharing a video, but literally commenting, engaging, starting a conversation. And I don't mean privately. Don't always jump into private, right? Try and do it in the public forums, all right? So other people can see that you're engaging and then they might join the conversation. But the more visible you are, the more people will remember you. Some people I know, they've started YouTube channels, they start a video and then they disappear for 2 or 3 weeks and then they do another video. The problem is that they're not being consistent, not only in with how often they post, but also the topic. Video 1 is about Canva. Video 2 is about CSS. Video 3 is about Pepsi Max. Video 4 is about mountain climbing. Your audience are going to sit there and go, what are you? What are you trying to show? What am I going to get out of you? I don't know where you are. So I would say, pick an area. I mean, I did say earlier, don't nicheify, but pick an area and you can, pick different components about it. I mean, I've done so many WordPress Elementor videos now, code snippet videos. If suddenly I wanted to do a video where now I'm like, right, I'm just going to take a break from designing websites for a week and I'm going to record some videos where I'm out with my son, we're going to go Jersey in a couple of weeks. We're just going to record videos out and about, and it might be that maybe he might record me sat on a beach on my phone answering YouTube comments, or maybe someone's posted a question in our Web Squadron Facebook group about how do I do XYZ with, images or videos, and how do I make it look good on a website? And I'm now trying to answer it. Variety like that. And I don't think people would be too upset by that because they know what the bulk of the channel is all about. But if I want to mix it up with a talking video or an out and about video, and I've done a few videos where I've been using my Insta, I don't think I'm pointing to it. There it is. My Insta 360 Pro. No, I keep saying Pro. No, it is a Pro. Flow 2 Pro, I think it's called. Gimbal, which is amazing gimbal. That is actually better than the DJI. I had the DJI Pocket 6. I returned it. This is way better. Costs a bit more, but way better. But anyway, I've got that to walk around and do videos like that. But so if I want to do videos in the studio, I want to do videos walking around my house or in the garden or out and about, I can do. But the thing that is really true to me is I like to be consistent. I like to be out there. I don't fake it. I'm not putting on an accent. People have accused me of not being British. You're not really from Britain. You're faking it. You're actually in some other part of the world. That's a fake accent and all of it. It's fine. If you want to believe that, go and believe that. But I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm really enjoying it. So I feel that, don't care what age you are, if you got experience, you got knowledge, you want to share, start up your video. And like I said, you don't have to have a proper DSLR camera, mirrorless or anything like that. You could just use an iPhone. I was using an iPhone XR. Okay. So if you want to go back and watch videos from 2021 going into 2020, no, in fact, 2020, no, not 2021. because the 2021, I kept jumping around with different 4K cameras. So 2022, any videos done there that were all done with the iPhone XR, and I still have it. I still have it. I need to sell it. I don't know why I've still got it. I haven't. I need to even check it turns on. I need to sell it on, get rid of it. But I was using that. So 2022, 2023, they were using the iPhone XR. 2024 videos, and half of 2025 were the iPhone 12 mini. And now I'm using a Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. You could use a Sony ZV-E10 Mark I if you want, but the Mark II has a better interface, better buttons, much nicer touch screen as well, connections and all of that, blah, 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 blah. I hope you've enjoyed that. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking. Some of you are going to thinking, what the heck, Imran? I came along thinking you were going to talk about how to design a website, but I just wanted to give across some advice about the fact that I didn't start this channel until I was 42. Okay. And I want to continue as much as I can. I don't want to give up until I get to the point where mentally or physically I cannot continue, but I really hope my son eventually takes it over. And I hope this becomes a family legacy of a channel with helping people out with web designing. I mean, heck, what will happen with web design in 50 years' time with AI? Who knows? But until we know, I'm still here. And even if web design does change, I'll pivot and do something else because that's the kind of person I am. Hey, look, I gave up on 20 years of my NHS life and career. I never thought I would. I thought I'd be working in the NHS until I hit 65. So for me, and there's so many people who know me who were gobsmacked when they heard I was leaving. They literally started going, have you won the lottery? Have you been are you working for another bigger corporation, something we don't know about? And I was like, no, I'm now going to go back to what I want to do, what I've always wanted to do, which was be creative. And when you start a YouTube channel, you're the content creator. I'm Imran Web Squadron. I hope you like, subscribe, share, and follow. I'll see you soon. Bye.